Look, it was exactly what they had hoped for, all right? They arrived at midnight. It was dark and stormy, and the wind was howling through the trees, and the full moon was up and casting an eerie light over the house. It was perfect. Who can't resist a house called Black Hollow? We all know the history and the legend of the Black Hollow Witch, and they had all agreed it was perfect for a bit of ghostly excitement for Halloween. Might even spot a ghost or something. All a bit of fun. A hoot and a holler. Of course, they had read up on the history of the place, of the two sisters that had lived there all those years ago, and the mystery of the unexplained sudden disappearance of the younger sister when she was in her early 20s, and the older one, the Black Witch, making spells and whatnot until dying of old age. And of course, there was the curse. The curse of the Black Witch, all very mysterious and dramatic. So yeah, as Jake had said, what's not to like? When they arrived, the three of them started filming on their phones for their social media posts. So we were able to piece together a lot of what happened from the footage taken from those phones. The first clip is from Peter's phone, as Jake and Sarah are walking up the path towards the house. The moon casting that black shadow of the house that looms over them. There's a very ominous presence, especially with those dark and unseeing windows. And the filth and grime everywhere. I could smell the damp and decay from the image, you know what I mean? We can hear Jake saying something like it being perfect for a horror movie and laughing, but we can hear his unease. They reach the front door, and it creaks open with the faintest push, and Peter says it's as if they are being invited in. There's footage on Sarah's phone taken in the hallway of a dust-covered portrait of two women either side of a very dashing young man, and they have a discussion about this being a portrait of the sisters, but they don't seem to know who the man is, and Jake says he'd read something about a fiancé and they think this could be him. They open a door into what they call the drawing room. There's an enormous fireplace, cold and dark. Above the fireplace, mounted on the wall, is a large ornate mirror, tarnished green with age and encrusted with dust. And the next clip is from Sarah's phone. She's standing in front of the mirror, and something really weird happens. You can't see it too clearly because the only light in the room is from the moon coming through the window, but what it looks like is that as she wipes the glass with her hand, her reflection ripples unnaturally. We hear her gasp and say to the others, "Did you see that?" And Peter's reply of, "Oh, the mirror's old, probably warped." And then the fireplace suddenly roars into life. I swear to God, it just ignites from what I can see. When I first saw the footage, I was thinking, oh, yeah, that's really good. Really realistic. I just assumed they had set up a few tricks for the camera, you know? Because otherwise, why would the front door be open? How is it not barred and locked and bolted? But then the temperature in the room plummets. We can see their breath when they speak, and Sarah starts shivering and Jake is rubbing his arms for warmth. And a thick fog begins to seep up through the cracks in the floorboards, swirling around their ankles. And from the mirror comes a woman's voice, faint and indistinct, but becoming clearer as it sends a cold, cruel laugh through the room. The fear on their faces at this point is, well, they are genuinely terrified. Sarah's eyes are so wide and her face is deathly pale. And suddenly, the door to the drawing room slams shut with a bang. Peter rushes over, trying to pry it open, but it doesn't budge, and he shouts, "We're locked in!" and we can hear him pounding on the wood. Jake's camera swings round to Sarah because she's backing away from the mirror. As she does, her reflection doesn't move with her. It stays, standing still, staring at her with wide, soulless eyes. Peter's phone shows Jake turning to look, and he kind of freezes with horror because Sarah's reflection has twisted into something grotesque. Its eyes hollow, its mouth hanging open in a silent scream. And then the reflection reaches out, pressing its hands against the inside of the mirror as if trying to break free, and Sarah screams and stumbles back, crashing into a table. Jake yells, "What the hell is happening?" And his voice is cracked and shaky. Peter's phone is on the floor, and we can see Peter, now frantic, grab a poker from the fireplace and swing it at the mirror. It shatters with a deafening crash, shards flying everywhere. The fog grows thicker and waist high, and from it rises a figure, a woman, pale and translucent, with long, dark, hanging hair over her face. But we catch a glimpse of black eyes. It appears to hover silently, that black gaze fixed on the three friends. And then it laughs, a horrible, high-pitched scream. Jake and Sarah cover their ears with their hands. And Sarah cries out, "What do you want?" The ghost's face twists into a snarl. "To end the curse," it says. "Are you the witch?" asks Sarah, looking at the broken pieces of mirror that could perhaps be used as a weapon. It replies, "Not the witch, no. Sister of the witch, yes. She who has kept me here all these years." From the phone on the floor, we can see Sarah catching Jake's attention and indicating the shards of mirror, and we think she whispers, "Keep her talking." But we're not sure those are her exact words. It's difficult to make out. But Jake nods. "Why did your sister trap you in the mirror?" he asks. "Tell us, we'd like to help you."
"Love, of course. We loved the same man. He was hers, but I turned his head, and so she banished me to this eternity of nothing, bound to this place by the dark magic of my sister. I cannot be free until the curse is broken."
We hear Peter asking, "How is the curse to be broken?" and see Jake taking the shard of broken mirror from Sarah.
"To break the curse, I must take a soul. Another must replace me."
And it raises itself above the ground and looms over them. In the footage from the phone on the floor, there's a partial view of the room. The flames are flickering. The fog seems to grow thicker still, and it swirls around them like a living thing. We see Peter's feet running past, and then he comes into view as he makes a run for the door. But as he reaches it, the fog, snake-like, coils around him, dragging him back. He screams and claws at the air as the fog wraps tentacles around his throat, squeezing tightly, increasing pressure, until Peter drops, lifeless, to the floor. And we can hear both Sarah and Jake screaming Peter's name. The ghost turns on them with black eyes. Its stare falls on Jake, its gaze narrowing, suspicious of what Jake has in his hand. And then it all gets very jumbled and disjointed as the phone on the floor, still recording, is kicked about the room. Jake lunges at the ghost with the shard raised and brings it down into the ghost's heart. but the shard and Jake's hand and arm go right through. Jake barely has time to react before the ghost reaches out, its hand passing through his chest. He freezes, eyes wide with terror as a look of pure agony twists his face. And then he too collapses. And we know now, of course, that he was also dead. The ghost turns to Sarah and says,
"It has to be a woman's soul."
Sarah doesn't hesitate. We hear a window smash. She swung a chair at it and clambered out. From the phone in her back pocket, which is still recording, we can see she is running from the house by the up and down motion of the footage. And we can see the figure of the ghost standing in the doorway, watching her. And we can see the snake of fog slithering down the path towards her, reaching her, tentacles stretching, curling, twisting, and then they are wrapping themselves around her feet, working upwards. Icy fingers curl around Sarah's throat and begin to squeeze. As she struggles to take her last breath, a cackling laugh rises into the night, becoming higher pitched and gleeful. And from the very last few clips from both phones, we know she is pulled back into the house, through the hallway, into the living room, and into the mirror. Shards of broken glass fly back into the frame, and the mirror is restored. The door of the house slams shut. The fog disperses. The fire goes out. Above the fireplace, the mirror shimmers and ripples and settles. That's all I can tell you.